Welcome back to the Ghost Bunny Podcast. I'm your host, Bridget Marquardt, with a brand new episode for you guys. My guest today is Tawney Lewis. Tawney Lewis is a respected paranormal researcher, certified intuitive medium, and master spiritual teacher. With an impressive portfolio of investigations, including the Old Montana State Prison, the Whaley House, Brackenfern Manor, and the infamous Poltergeist movie home, Tawney has become a sought-after expert in the field of the supernatural. She has co-taught multiple paranormal workshops with her mentor, world-renowned psychic medium and TV personality Lisa Williams, and for the past 3 years, Tawney has been honored with exclusive invitations to lead investigations and workshops at the legendary Lilydale Assembly in New York. Tawney's work in the world of paranormal has earned her national and international TV appearances, including Discovery Plus and HBO Max's hit series Ghost Adventures. And she is one of the 3 lead experts on the award-nominated Canadian series Paranormal Revenge, airing on Crave and CTV Sci-Fi. She also appears in Tubi's Scariest Places in America, its follow-up series Scariest Places in the World, and Famously Haunted Hollywood. Currently, Tawney is one of the featured lead experts on the new hit series My Haunted Hometown on the T&E channel in Canada, which just wrapped its 2nd season. Tawney, thank you so much for doing the show today.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah. I have my, I do research on everybody and I write out all my notes, and I was looking through them before we started talking, and I'm like, wait, I actually want to start at the end. So I'm going to skip around a little bit, because one of the things that was in your bio was that you were doing a show called, or are doing a show called Famously Haunted Hollywood. And I need to know what that's about. I need to know the locations, because Holly, my co-star from my other show, and we were trying to pitch a show like that. And we did like a pilot on it about, just like
Mhm.
all the Hollywood, like we really like the Hollywood history involved in it, but
Yes.
then also the ghost stories.
Yes, that was so much fun. As soon as they approached me, I was like, "Yes, Hollywood, let's talk." But no,
Yes.
my favorite story, in regards to that show was the Peg and Whistle. When it comes to the Hollywood, sign, where so many people claim that they see her just walking along the road. And what was exciting is I lived in Hollywood for 3 years, and my apartment faced the hills. And, it just every time I looked there, it just reminded me of the Peg story. But yeah, that was one of the locations. Let's see. Oh, the Cecil Hotel.
Oh, you got to
Oh
go to
yeah.
Cecil?
I have not gone to Cecil. I don't know if I
Oh.
ever want to go to Cecil, but
Oh.
but no, the Cecil, it just the history there is just so intense. Just because of all the things that happened, like the Elisa Lamb case, but also the Richard Ramirez, the serial killer. Just that's what I love about Hollywood history. I'm really intrigued by just history in general, but being a Los Angeles native, just to be able to talk about it is just really, really exciting.
Yeah, so I wanna just back up for the fans who may not know. The Hollywood sign is famously haunted because I think she was back in, like, the 1930s, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
1930s.
1930s.
An actress named Peg Entwistle, she climbed the H and allegedly jumped off. I mean, I think it's allegedly, or is it fact? I mean, it might be fact, but
Yeah, it's fact. They found her, yeah, they found her, suicide note. She was an actress, and she just wasn't her career wasn't progressing as fast as she really, really wanted it to, and so she just, suffered from depression, which is unfortunate because she had a movie that had just come out, and it was doing very, very well, and I guess that just wasn't enough for her, and so, yeah, they found, her shoes, her purse, at the bottom of one of the mountains. Somebody found it, and yeah, her case is just so, so tragic.
it is, and every time I go by, like you said, Holly lives relatively close to the Hollywood sign, so a lot of times when I'm leaving her house, like, I literally go right by the park, right there at the bottom of
Mhm.
the base of it, and I always think about it. Like, I can't go by there without thinking about it.
I know. It's seriously probably the number 1 case, yeah.
And am I wrong? Do have other people, like, duplicated that as well? Like, also tried to jump off the sign?
There has been a lot of stories about people jumping off the sign and just hauntings in the Hollywood Hills in general. Just to kinda connect to LA and LA as well, Pasadena, there's a place called Suicide Bridge, which absolutely it is very well known that people have tried to jump there. They even had to put up gates to go a little higher. I investigated that area long, long, long time ago, and I won't go back just because of how much energy is down there, but negative energy, just from all the people that's tried to copy and just do something of what like Peg did and just and jump. It's the area is just so thick.
I've been to that bridge and I've been underneath it, which is actually like a really cute park, like for little kids, like little swing sets and slides and things like that. And I can't even imagine, like, well, first of all, what somebody would have to be feeling to do that. But then secondly, like being a mom or like taking your, or a nanny or whatever, and taking your kids to the park and discovering something like that.
Exactly.
And it's a very, very, like you said, very active area. But back
Yeah.
to Peg Entwistle, do people like they see her apparition walking around the streets, you said, up there?
Yes, a lot of joggers because of that area, perfection for jogging, hiking. Yes, a lot of joggers, they claim to see her just kind of walking up the road, asking for help. Sometimes they'll see a woman and she'll disappear. They'll see a woman in white. A lot of different stories, but the one thing that's always the same is there's a woman. There's a woman right there, and they're like, I think that was Peg, and there's a high chance it is. I personally believe that it is.
That's so interesting.
Mm.
And then going back to the Cecil, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what the Cecil is because it has just had like a huge following lately. Like there's been Netflix documentaries about the story on it. And with, like you said, the whole Elisa Lamb
Mhm.
stuff going on, there's just been a lot of stories and documentaries and everything. But that place, just the whole history of it, it's like if a place it could just be negative, that's one of those places. Like if it has nothing but negative energy, it feels like that's one of the places. Even with it closed down, I was just walking by it and there was literally
Yes.
people laying on the ground in front of it, like
Mhm.
shooting up, doing drugs, like
Yep.
just it just attracts, I feel like, negative energy.
Yeah, negative energy. That hotel has had murders, suicides, mysterious, circumstances like Elisa Lamb, and like you said, I was gonna say, yeah, people in front of the hotel shooting up, and that's one of the places as a paranormal investigator where someone said, Tawny, like, let's go in. I'd have to think about it just because of all that negative energy that is just surrounding it. It makes me so uncomfortable, but it's interesting to talk about, definitely.
Yeah. Well, as a paranormal investigator, I totally want to go, but I think for you, it's more of being how intuitive you are. And you're probably really feeling all of that. And also with the suicide bridge in Pasadena and stuff, like I feel like you are really, really feeling that more than like the average investigator would.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. That's where, for the most part, I feel that I'm pretty controlled in situations like that, but very rare. Yeah, I'll go into a location and I'm just like, yeah, can't do this. But it's rare though that pops up. And I worry that the Cecil is one of those places.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. What other places in Hollywood did the show go?
The Omen House, the David Omen House.
Oh, I'm
I've
good friends
investigated.
with David. He wants to do the show.
Yeah, I've investigated it years ago, like a part of
Yeah.
the team, when I was a part of a team, but we talked about the Omen House. I talked about my experience where, gosh, it was 10 plus years ago, where there was someone went down in the basement, or there's an area where there's a mound of dirt, and
Yes.
apparently under the dirt is rumored to be bones of a horse, and yeah, and there was a wooden plank that just flew across the room, and I'll never forget that because we were watching it on the camera, and you could just see the guy was like, oh, he ran out the room, and he's like, did you see? We're like, oh, we saw that. We saw clear as day that wooden plank fly across the room, and then after I left the Omen House, I got strep throat. And I'm someone that rarely ever gets sick, ever. And so I was like, "Okay, that's not normal." I always felt it was connected to the house, and then I found out that a lot of people go to the house and they end up getting sick or feeling sick afterwards. And so that's definitely one of the places we talked about. It's a interesting type of energy because I know it's absolutely connected to the Manson murders, but I also feel like he has some Native American Native American burial ground. There we go, so in the surrounding areas.
Yeah, it's very interesting. For those that don't know, David Omen, he lives in Benedict Canyon and he lives on Cielo Drive, just like a couple houses down from where Sharon Tate and her friends were murdered. And he has a lot of activity on at his house. And I think that there's a few different reasons why this could be. He absolutely swears that it's Sharon and JC bring, and that he can see them and talk to them. But also, like you said, Native American stuff going on there. But I've also heard things about with the way the ley lines, and I'm not super familiar with ley lines, but that house is on like a cross section of like two ley lines or something like
Yeah.
that, which like makes it, I don't know if a portal is the right word, but definitely like
Mhm.
a very active location. And then the way it's built, like on the side of a mountain and kind of goes down into a canyon. And what you're talking about, that room with the dirt, what it is the house, like the laundry room opens up and there's the laundry in there. I think it's the laundry, but the
Mhm.
back wall is just the dirt of the mountain. And
Wow.
being that close to like the earth and stuff, like being able to touch the dirt or something, there's something about that makes it super active there.
Yeah, very, very active, I agree. I definitely feel like there's ley lines, underneath that location. Just being there, it's a paranormal investigator's dream because almost every room that I was in, I felt like it not only was it active, it was just so many different types of spirits. That's what I thought was interesting. I was like, "Okay, wait, this is what I think. Wait a minute, there's something. Oh, wait, no." And so that was what was interesting, and so that's probably why I went so many times, which I want to say it was like 2012, 2013 around the time that I went, but definitely one of the most interesting places that we talked about on the Famously Haunted Hollywood.
Yeah, a couple of things that happened to me while I was there. The board sounds exciting, what you guys saw on camera.
Yeah.
But, what happened to me is I took a group. It was just like a one-off. I did like a with, Dearly Departed Tours. We, like, sold tickets for, like, one night, go, like, on a paranormal investigation with Bridget. We did 2 of them, actually, and one of the places we went was David's house, and we were standing in the room, on the bottom level, which is like the theater room type thing,
Mhm.
and there was a table in the middle with, like, a little kid's keyboard that sometimes gets played, and David was talking to all of us, telling us about like what happens in that room, and his back was to the door. And all of a sudden, I just watched as the door just shut behind him. And some people thought that maybe he did it like, kind of went
Oh,
like that to the door from behind him. And I was like, okay, well, maybe. And I asked him about it. He was like, why would I shut the door? I didn't do that. You know, my house is haunted. Like, I don't need to fake it. What do you, what? So the next time I went back, I was playing with the door. Like, if I just went like this, would it
mhm,
shut? But there's thick carpeting because it's a movie theater
mhm.
room. And the door doesn't just like, you can't just do that and the door
Exactly.
will shut.
Mhm.
So I was like kind of, trying to debunk it a little bit. And I just feel like it wasn't him that did it.
No, it definitely wasn't him. His house is it's incredible. It's in I tell people, I'm like, it's probably one of the, top places I've ever investigated because like you said, he's like, "I don't need to do it, my house is haunted," and it is, and so it's one of the I'd say it's definitely one of the most interesting places in, like, the Hollywood area. If someone were to say, "Hey, tell me where, a good place to investigate," I'd say definitely, I would suggest the David Owen House.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the first time I met Patty Negri.
Oh, sweet, okay. Nice.
Yeah, we were doing an investigation there, so that was really fun. And then something that happens every time I'm there is he has these figurines that are on top of the aquarium,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they'll just like topple over. And I mean, at first I was like, well, they're figurines, and like they do that, with the slightest jolt,
Mhm.
the slightest like thing happening. But like we were again trying to like debunk that, and we set them up, and then we were like jumping up and down and like waving our hands all around them, and they
Yeah.
didn't budge. But then you walk away and you're talking in the kitchen, and for no reason, they'll just go bump, bump, bump,
Oh,
bump, bump, like multiple of them all at the same time. And you're like, oh,
yep. Mischievous spirits.
yeah. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting there. Holly and I, when we were doing our pilot for our Haunted Hollywood show, we went to the Rosenheim Mansion, which was
Oh.
also the murder house in American Horror Story.
Mhm. Yes.
But it's actually haunted in itself, and it was very, very cool. This house is so strange because, well, first of all, it's beautiful and it's massive,
Mhm.
but it has attached to it was donated a long time ago to these
Uh-huh.
nuns, and they have a whole
Oh,
church attached to the house, like a whole chapel,
oh, wow.
which is sort of creepy.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be creepy, but it is to me.
Yeah. I remember that one being mentioned on the show, but what's really funny is I remember the producer talking to me about the Rosenheim, and then I said, "You know what? I'm not as familiar with the history on that one. However," I said, "Are we doing the Entity House?" And he said, "Yes." And I said,
Did
"I
you
have lots to say on
go?
that one." I didn't go, but I definitely had a segment where I talked about it. Only a little bit of history. I have no idea why my family showed me that movie when I was 5 years old. No idea.
Yeah.
But but I've
Seriously.
seen The Entity when I was a child, and it is like one of those movies that's traumatized me. And so, it's about a case here in Culver City, a woman named Doris Bither, who said that there was a spirit or an entity that was attacking her,
Mm.
and it followed her everywhere. She ended up getting rid of it, and then she moved to Texas, and then the attacks continued to happen for the rest of her life. I believe she's passed on now, but yeah, they did a movie starring Barbara Hershey in the 80s, and we talked about that house, and that house is still there in Culver City, and with new owners. So far, haven't heard anything, but I always wonder, those that live there, do they ever experience any sort of energy?
Yeah, I wonder too. That case happened in the 70s, right?
Yes, I believe it happened in the 70s. Mhm.
And it was Barry Taff's case, and I also talked to Barry Taff
Yes,
the other
yes,
day, so he's one of the OOOGs.
yes, yes, the Very
He
Taffy, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, he was doing stuff in the '60s with UCLA, used to have a
Mhm,
parapsychology program. I don't think it was called that, but they were working on these kinds of things, and they were doing psychic experiments and,
mhm.
like, parent all kinds of paranormal things, and so he's been from way back, so maybe he'll come do my podcast again too.
He's so awesome.
It's so
I see
interesting
he's a
talking to
legend.
him.
Yep, legend for sure.
Mhm. Demand more from your caffeine. Did you know that not all caffeine was created equal? I did not know that. Like, I thought caffeine was caffeine. Most caffeine absorbs super quickly, giving you that very recognizable energy burst. And then if you drink too much, or for people who are super sensitive, it's accompanied with jitters and then a crash at the end. I mean, I've experienced this myself. I've had my morning cup of coffee, and then sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm just not feeling it today. I need a little extra oomph. And then I make a second cup of coffee and I'm jittery and I don't feel good. I never really know how much caffeine I'm getting or how much I need. And it's just sort of like all over the place. But it doesn't have to be this way. With Magic Mind, they found a way to make caffeine time released through the unique nano encapsulation technology that they use and their proprietary blend. This makes it so you don't get just 1 hour energy out of your caffeine, you get energy that lasts all day long. So with Magic Mind, there are 3 formulations, and they're designed to give your body just the right amount of caffeine and the nutrients that we need based on our body type. So of course, I had to try all 3 of them out, and it started out with just a taste test, and then I wanted to feel the results. Plus, I took this little quiz online on the Magic Mind website, and it tells you which formulation is probably going to be best for you. And I found out when taking this quiz that Magic Mind builds your brain over time, strengthening neural pathways for faster thinking, sharper memory, and greater mental flexibility with each dose. That's incredible. So after taking the quiz, I totally thought it was going to recommend that I take the free formulation. But then it came back and said I should take the original formulation. And here's what they say about the original formulation. It's the only mental performance shot formulated with the perfect balance of 55 milligram time-release caffeine and 12 synergistic neurotropics and adaptogens. Clinically proven to enhance cognitive function, deliver sustained energy without jitters, they call it calm energy, and transform how your brain responds to stress, all in one daily shot that becomes more effective over time. And in my opinion, they taste like tropical juice, so what's not to love? And I was thinking too, these would be great on a ghost hunting night. So do you want to try it with me? Get 60% off the Magic Mind offer with our link and code. Go to www.magicmind.com/ghostbunny60 and ghostbunny60, that's 60. Get help with brain fog, procrastination, mental fatigue, exhaustion, and distractions that make it hard for you to focus. And again, here's our Magic Mind offer, 60% off with my link and code. Go to magicmind.com/ghostbunny60. That's ghostbunny60. I want to know when you discovered that you were intuitive. Like, is it something you just always knew you had? Or was there a time when you were like, wait, something's different about me?
Yeah, it's oh man. So when I was younger, I lived in a really big house in the LA area. And I remember, I will never forget, I was asleep at like 2 a.m. I wake up and I see a girl standing over my sister. She had blonde pigtails and I could see her eyes, but she was like a shimmery gold. And I remember I was like, I clearly see this girl here. She looked like to have on maybe because it's so long ago. I'm gonna say turn of century clothing. And I said, I'm gonna close my eyes. And if I open it, she's gone. And I hallucinated it. And I remember closing my eyes, looking, she was still there. Then I did it one more time, and that's how I knew to this day that she was real. I did it one more time. She was still there, but she started to fade away. So I don't know if she realized that I could see her. And I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my mom because she will never believe me. And then a few years later, I was able to see auras around people, literally like as a child. But instead of me trying so hard, I could literally just look at you and be like, "You're purple, you're yellow." Like, and it was, I thought it was normal. And people were like, "No, we don't see colors around people." And so as I got older, I saw another spirit in the bathroom. This one, I couldn't make out what it was. It was like all white. And that's when I was like, okay, something, and being 11-year-old, I was like, something's different. I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to pray about it. And it went away for 20 plus years. And then in my, I'm going to say about 15 years ago, I became so intrigued in ghost hunting and investigating and research, but I was scared of it. So I always tell people, I was like, honestly, the paranormal is a big fear of mine. I'm actually terrified of ghosts,
Oh
but
no.
I was like, I'm scared of this, but I was like, you know what? I'm intrigued by it and I want to understand it. And so I started to learn about it. I took classes and read about it and watched all sorts of programs about paranormal investigating. But that was just the paranormal investigating aspect. I didn't even touch on the intuitive again, which was just sitting kind of dormant. And then in 2018, I went to New Orleans. I love New Orleans. Oh my god,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
I love
Went
it
to New
too.
Orleans and there was a an investigation, and they told all of us like, "Oh, this room had a nun. She was 99 when she died. She haunts this room." This big elaborate story. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like, "No, I feel like a woman died in here. She was 26 years old. She had dark brown hair. She was a nurse. She committed suicide." I was just getting all this information. And then later another investigator, he said, "Hey, you guys, we just did an EVP session. We got on the spirit box. We found out that a lady died in here. She was a nurse. She was 25. She died by suicide." And that was the moment where I was like, hmm. I was like, that was the moment. I was like, is there something more to this? And so
Yeah.
after that, I just kind of decided like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it for paranormal investigating because that's my passion, but I'm going to make sure I know what I'm doing. And so I just started developing. I took every class. My mentor is Lisa Williams, she used to be TI, she's TV years ago. And yeah, that's kind of where it started. And so I always say paranormal investigator first because I did that for quite a while. And then the intuitive aspect only just came in, a little like 6 or 7 years ago. So yeah, it was kind of the story.
Yeah. Okay. Back to your childhood home. Did you ever tell your parents or your sister or any family?
I didn't tell my parents, but I told my sister a few months later, and I remember she's like, "Why wouldn't you tell me?" Which I don't know why I wouldn't because she actually is a believer. To this day, she's a huge believer, and so she's like, "You should have told me." I was like, "I was scared," but I was 9 or 10. But
Yeah.
to this day, I always think about it and how clear that girl was. And when people say, "Oh, I saw a ghost," and when they say, "Oh, they were like shimmery," I'm like, "That's exactly what I saw." She was like a gold shimmery color, but I was able to make out her features. I could see her eyes, her beautiful blue
Yeah.
eyes. Well, yeah.
That's so interesting. Do you know any of the history of your house?
Sort of. So the area where I lived, it's across the street from I just kind of pieced this together actually. It's across the street from an elementary school. At one point the ages could go up to 12 years old. And I would say she kind of looked around that age. My house was right there, like literally at the gate of the school. The house, I believe, was built like 1928. However, don't know what was there beforehand. And I do know that the school had been built in, I believe, in early 1900s. And that's kind of how she was dressed. So there is a chance that maybe She's somehow connected to that school.
I see. Yeah.
Mhm.
So interesting.
Yeah.
And then did you ever end up telling your parents?
I didn't about that story, but when I found out about the intuitive, and, I sat down my mom down, I was like, "So, yeah, apparently people are saying I'm a medium and I'm getting things right," and yeah, and she's like, "Okay," but I will never forget her response. She says, "Okay, do you like doing the readings?" I was like, "I do." She's like, "Does it give you, like, joy?" I was like, "Yeah, I like helping people." She's like, "It is what it is." And this is someone from who doesn't believe in this. She doesn't believe in it, but she's like, "If you're happy and you like it and you feel like you're helping people, then good for you."
Well,
And it kind of,
good.
left it at that. And so she now knows I do the paranormal and investigating and intuitive, but she kind of just stays out of it. She's just like, okay, have fun, bye.
Yeah, well, I was just curious because a lot of times it seems like when I talk to people who are intuitive or psychic, mediums of any kind, a lot of times it's something that's generational and their family also has it. Their mom also has the gift, their grandparents.
I feel like my mom's intuitive. She's always been very good at reading people. However, because she's not a believer, she's kind of, she like brushes it off. She's like, oh yeah, like that, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm not gonna push it, I don't wanna make her uncomfortable," but I believe, yeah, generational, definitely. I think it's from her side, absolutely.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And then going back to New Orleans, what hotel were you at?
Oh my god. Okay, that time I was in an Airbnb, I was in a two-bedroom house.
Okay. Have you done other paranormal investigating in New Orleans?
I went a few times, I love oh my god, the food. Uh, that
Every
one
I
was,
love everything about New Orleans.
I miss it, and I don't know why I haven't been back, but, no, it was one tour, and I'm pausing because I remember the name of the house. It was I think it's called Saint Vincent's Guest House. They might have changed
Okay.
the name. They told us that at one point years ago, I think it was a hospital, and then it was like a nursing home. They've changed it over the last, like, 7 years. But no, that was the one tour I did, which was really cool because it was very, very hands-on, and we were actually able to actually investigate. But when I go, I've gone to, like, a lot of the plantations because 'cause I'm obsessed with history, and just, like, literally driving around New Orleans to see, like, old properties, and old plantations.
Have you been to Myrtles?
Oh, absolutely. I wanted to stay overnight, and I haven't yet, but I have been to Myrtles. I love that place.
Did you have any experiences there?
I didn't, but really interesting. So they showed us do you remember I don't know if you know, they have a basket there of earrings that they found around the house. Did you see that? No, so
No.
it's okay. So apparently the guide says, the tour guide, he says that they find so many earrings around the property that they've started to collect them. And they have this bin. It was hundreds in there, and they have no explanation for it. And so they're like, maybe the spirits of the slaves are pulling. We don't again, they don't know. But that evening, my sister and I went to a bar in the French Quarter, and we're just enjoying life, drinking our drink, and she says, "Ow, ow." I was like, "Are you okay?" And she's like and she's holding her earring, and she's like, "You didn't something tried to pull my earring off." And I was like, "Are you losing it?" She's like, "No, I promise you, something was trying." And I saw her, she's like, "Ow." And I said, "Oh my god, remember at the Myrtles?" And she's like, oh, and the building we were in was built in, I think he said 1790, the building bar. And so I don't know. I would love to do more research. I told her maybe people spirits from that day are they love to see shiny things because connected to the Myrtles and then being in that old building in the French Quarter. Earring, I don't know.
Interesting, because and just so the listeners know too, the Myrtles is nowhere near the French Quarter, so that's like a couple-hour drive, like at least an hour and a half, I think it was, because it's like closer to Baton Rouge, I think. I think we went
Yes.
through Baton Rouge to get to St. Francisville. So that's so interesting. It's almost like it kind of possibly followed. What old bar were you in? It wasn't Lafitte's, was it?
Oh, I can't remember. It was so
Lafitte's
long ago.
Blacksmith, because that's one of the really I mean, everything there is old and historic, but Lafitte's
Mhm.
is supposedly and I always get these like, I always don't wanna mess up the title because, somebody will say, "Oh, this is the most haunted house in America," and then
Mhm.
they'll say, "Oh, this is the most haunted, you know, one in the U in the" well, they all have, like, slightly different titles, do you know what I'm saying? Like, if
Yeah.
it's but, like, Lafitte's is one of those places that's, like, one of the oldest bars or taverns
Oh,
or,
might have,
in the United States.
might have.
And yeah, it was an old blacksmith shop, and it's tied to Lafitte, who was a pirate. So it's a fun place to
Oh,
go.
nice. I wonder, I can't remember, but yeah, it was very old and very haunted wherever we were. So, yeah.
I think if it were that place, that description, you would know. It's like very dark inside, and it's like
Oh.
flicker flame candles, and there's a huge blacksmith
Oh.
thing in the middle. Like
Oh, I see.
if it were
There
that place,
wasn't.
you would be like, "Oh yeah, that's got to be what it was."
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, no.
Have you guys checked out Hugs yet? I mean, they are so adorable, and I use mine so much more than I thought I would. Now, if you would have asked me before I got my Hugs whether I slept with a stuffed animal or needed a stuffed animal or used it for anxiety or anything, I'd be like, oh no, I don't need anything like that until I got mine. And I didn't realize how amazing it really is. And they have so many added benefits. I mean, not only are they an anxiety hack for so many people, but they also can be heated and cooled. I mean, that was a game changer for me right there. To be able to heat them and put them on my cramps, oh, it feels so good. And with it heating up, there's been a few nights here where it has just not cooled down in the evening. And when I put my Hugs in the freezer for a little while and then go to sleep with it, it's like a dream. But they're also soft and weighted. So on those kind of days, it just makes you feel better. So whether you're gifting or self-soothing, think of them as like a weighted hug that you can hold. Hugs can help reduce stress and anxiety through deep touch pressure, similar to how like a weighted blanket works. And this can activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which can help soothe, comfort, and relax you. Plus, like I said, you can heat them up in your microwave, you can cool them in your freezer, and inside are just non-toxic glass beads. Plus, one of the best parts, Hugs donates 10% of all proceeds of their Hugs of the Month to mental wellness charities. Head to givehugs.co, that's givehugs.co, and use code GHOSTBUNNY for 20% off your first order. I want to talk about, because you've touched on it already a little bit, some of the classes that you were taking and that kind of stuff. And I'm really big on like taking classes and getting certificates in not only paranormal, but like just anything that I'm interested or want to do. I'm working on Spanish right now too, and just like
Nice.
I love continuing education and stuff. And I'm curious what types of classes you took, what certificates you have, where you went, like those kinds of things.
Absolutely. Oh man, where do I start? I took it really seriously. You know, that's one thing I'm very proud of. Where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna really dive into it. And I had a full time job, but whenever I had the time, I was in the class. But Lisa Williams, I say, was number one because she has a whole school. I thoroughly recommend it for those that are interested in developing
Can
themselves
you tell
intuitively.
people who Lisa Williams is in case they don't know?
Absolutely. Just an amazing individual. Lisa Williams is a internationally known psychic medium, a healer, spiritual teacher. She had a TV show on I apologize, Lifetime. There was a Lifetime network probably about 17 years ago. She had a few shows, and she now has a very, very successful school. And so I always recommend it to those who are interested in learning more just about spirituality. She is the teacher. I took some of her development circles, and I thought, I want to learn more. And she has a very, very prestigious master teacher program, which she only selects not very many. I think in the world there's only about 50 master teachers under her tutelage. And I applied and she accepted me. And I was in her master teacher program for a little under a year. And I got to go to New York and spend a month with her. This was kind of like the last portion of the training. And like a graduation. And I was
Yeah.
certified a master spiritual teacher under Lisa Williams. And so doing after that, she helped kind of put me on more of a platform because of the paranormal aspect. She saw that I was very serious about the work, and she had me teach a paranormal class for her school. We co-taught classes. We had an 8-week paranormal workshop that we did. And so like whenever I speak with her, I let people know like definitely one of my mentors, amazing, learn from her. But because of that, I teach classes now. And so once a year, I go to Lilydale Assembly. Lilydale is in New York. If please go. Like, have you ever been to Lilydale?
I've not, but I was dying to talk to you about that too, because I want to go this summer. In fact, a friend and I are planning like when can we go this summer?
If possible, please try to come the week I'm there. If possible,
Okay, we'll have to like
please.
coordinate schedules.
Yes. Yes, I am, so what it is Lilydale is prestigious. It's a hamlet community of just these beautiful houses built in the late 1800s. But every person that owns them, they're mediums. So mediums live there. And so during summer, it's almost like a Disneyland where you go, you pay like an entrance fee. They have services where they give spiritual messages, tons of classes. Just walking around the area is all you really need because it's just beautiful and the energy is so uplifting. And so they invited me in 2022 to do an investigation, and they don't really do that there. That's not really a thing. And so
Yeah.
I did the investigation, and they invited me back last year. And I'm going back this year. And so I'm there and I do usually 3 nights. So usually one day I do like a workshop on intuition for the paranormal. And then in the evening, I'll do an actual paranormal investigation. And so I'm there, I believe, 3 nights this upcoming August.
Okay, yeah. So I saw that on here, investigations at Lilydale, and I was like, wait, there's investigations at Lilydale because I need to do that. And the girl that I'm going with said that on Wednesday nights they do a ghost tour. And I don't know if that's the same as the investigation or if it's different.
Totally different. There's a
Okay.
gentleman who is fantastic. He knows everything about Lilydale. He does the ghost tour. It's more of a ghost walk. But when I am there, I do an actual investigation with tools. And it's interesting because like some of my sessions, and this is I don't even want to gloat, but it's so great because you can just tell people want to do investigations. The first time I was there, we oversold and I had 70 people on my investigation. I was like, okay, I have to make this fun. But it's okay because this last year I told them, I said, I want people on the tour, on the investigation, but we gotta, we can't have that many people because we have to, feel the experience. And so we had about 30 people for each investigation. And this year I added an extreme investigation. This one is going to be a little later at night where it's
Oh.
only limited to about 12 people. And so, yeah, there's different spots in Lilydale that have a lot of history that I'm somewhat familiar with that we know is very, very active. And so, yeah, really cool place.
And just so the listeners know too, if you aren't familiar with Lilydale, it is in upstate New York. And like you
Mhm.
said, it's its own little community. You pay an entrance fee to get in. And I think they do, and you probably know better than me, like three public kind of like you call them services a day where it's like a group gathering. You all just like go. There's like a big tree stump, right? And like
Yes,
chairs
thank you.
almost like a church.
Yes, the tree stump, the most important I can't believe I forgot to say that. This is one of the most, beautiful parts of Lilydale. There is a tree stump service, where mediums will, give messages for about an hour, and they're so, so gifted, and it's so again, it's just positive and uplifting, and I recommend to anybody to please, please go to Lilydale. I really think that like, I know you'll enjoy it because it's not even so much about the classes or the messages. I think the environment, you're just like, this is what I needed. This is what I could. It's like it's kind of in the middle of the forest. It's beautiful, and so yeah, all good. I will be there. I have to get the dates, but it's yeah, investigating there is pretty cool because they don't. It's a location where you tell the spirits are like, oh, you can hear me. Oh, this is awesome. No one ever
Oh,
talks to me like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So they do these services like 3 times a day, and then there's like classes like you said and workshops that you can take for like helping with your own psychic abilities or intuition or different things like that. You can also book a medium and,
Yes.
try and communicate that way. I think they have nature walks through the forest too to just kind
Yes.
of ground yourself, and yeah, it just sounds amazing. And like I said, the ghost tour or ghost walk on Wednesday nights and then an investigation with you, like, sounds amazing, and it's one of those places I've always wanted to go.
Yes, I highly recommend it, and like I said, those listening or even just you, I love my intuition class because I tie in the paranormal, and so it's like teaching the students about the paranormal, but also because I personally believe that everyone is gifted, whether they
Mhm.
want to use it or not. And so it's like,
Yeah.
okay, like you love investigating, you love the paranormal. Let me teach you about your senses and how you can utilize that when you do your investigations. And so this year, that workshop I believe is just a 3 hour workshop. But in previous year, I had an 8 hour. It just changes every
Oh,
year, and so I would recommend it for anyone that's interested in just learning more about their intuition.
yeah. How long is the and it probably varies for everyone, depending on how much time you can devote to it, but how long is the certificate program with, like, Lisa Williams?
Ooh, the master teacher program. Sorry, it's been a few years. I want to say it was just. So I started in it's about a year. It's about a year because I remember
Oh, okay.
starting in, October of 2020, and then I officially completed it in September, October of 2021. So, yeah, she does a master teacher program almost every other year. I'm not sure she's doing it this year, but, yeah, in the world, it's I think there's a total of about 50 certified, master teachers under her.
And what, in your words, do you think it means to be a master teacher?
In my words, it's understanding what we do and why we do it. That to me is like number one. And, kind of going back to what I said earlier, where I was like, paranormal is my biggest fear. However, I'm controlled. I understand what I do, I understand what it is, and I'm able to enjoy it and just continue to explore. So,
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about a few of the places that you've been. One of the places that stuck out to me the most is the Brackenfern Manor because I don't hear people talking about it very often. And I actually went there. I did not investigate. I just, Holly and I went and stayed at this like fun themed like cabin place and stuff. And then I'm like, oh, this place is haunted. Let's go check it out. And we just pulled up into the, oh my God, what I can't even think of it, the parking lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
We pulled up into the parking lot and it was closed and there was a guy sitting in the parking lot. He was working on it. I almost asked him if we could just go inside and just walk around, but I didn't. But so I've been there, but I haven't been there.
Oh, Brackenfern Manor. Yeah, I've been there a few times. It is massive. So, like I said, I know you haven't been in there, but it'd be great if one day you do. You are able to rent out the entire property. Let's say if you go with a group of people or a team, they will each get their own room. I believe the room I stayed in was the Lily. So all the rooms are named for the prostitutes, or the madams that were there because at one point the Brackenfern Manor was a brothel. And so some rooms are less active than others. I believe mine was less active. However, there's one room like at the top of my head, Violet. That one I don't know why anyone would want to stay in there. But those that have, they're like, oh my God, I couldn't sleep all night. The energy was intense. I kept hearing, yeah, like things clicking, the people walk, people talking. And like, I haven't experienced it because again, I don't want anything to do with that room. However, there's so many things that's happened around the Brackenfern Manor. There's a window, and I believe it might be in that room. There's another room, I think Jasmine. So it's been a few years since I've been there, where the rumor is that someone fell out the window years ago and died on the road. There is on the first floor. There's a little boy that they say that haunts the room, and he likes to run around and pinch people and poke people. A really cool experience with him is I had to lead a group at the time. I was a part of a team at the time, and nothing was happening. We had tools out, and then we're just asking questions, and it was just a boring investigating moment. And then I was like, okay, let me kick in the intuitive. Where is he? Where is he? And then something's like, he's in the bedroom to the right. And people can rent the room. So I said, anyone in my group, does anyone have that room? And these two women were like, yeah, that's our room. I was like, can you do me a favor? Are we okay to go in there? Like, I don't want to go in your space. They were like, oh yeah. Open the door. You see all of their ghost hunting equipment lit up in the room, just lit up. And they were like, oh my God. I said, I knew it. And I don't really tell people as often about the intuitive mediumship because I love paranormal investigating. And they're like, how did you know? And I was like, well, I tapped in and I felt like he was in this space. And then I was like, actually, did someone buy him toys? And they're like, oh my God, we went to the Arrowhead Village and we brought some little cars. And I said, now who brought him candy? Oh my God, we brought him candy. And they were like, how did you? And I said, he's like, because he loved their room because he saw the candy, the toys, the ghost, and the equipment was picking up on his energy. And so I'd say that was probably the coolest experience of mine at that location. But yeah, I would say for any serious paranormal team, like absolutely look into the Bracken Farm because it's so large. One night we put the Boo Bear, and I hate that thing. On the higher, I can't stand that stupid bear. They put it
Why?
on the
Wait,
third
wait,
floor.
wait, why?
It's so creepy. It's
Oh.
just so like, okay, here it is. They put it on the third level at 3 a.m. We hear, ooh, that tickles. Ooh, that come closer, whatever it says. And I was like, okay, I hear something talking. And so that's why I hate the Boo Bear, but it does pick up energy. And so yeah, that's my experience with the Bracken Fern so far.
Yeah, and so just so the listener knows too, the Brackenfern Manor is in Lake Arrowhead here in California, up in the mountains. And Brackenfern Manor, originally called the Crib, which seems weird that it was called that, opened on
Mhm.
July 4th, 1926, while the Tudor House, then Club Arrowhead. Oh, okay. So then it changed to Club Arrowhead of the Pines, became a hidden retreat for Hollywood elites. The manor, a 10-room estate with patios, a library, and a sauna, was rumored to have served as a brothel during Prohibition, while the Tudor House hosted illegal gambling and liquor activities. Notorious mobster Benjamin Bugsy Siegel is believed to have funded these locations, creating a sanctuary for Hollywood's elite and mob members. The Tudor House, with its Olympic-sized pool, I didn't realize it had an Olympic-sized pool.
I could see that just from that property is massive. It's huge, and the Tudor house, yeah, just a note, if you go to the basement of the Tudor house, the bottles from the Prohibition era are still down there. They're just it's what it was is there's a shaft that where they were upstairs just drinking and partying and had their prostitutes, and then they would have a lookout to see if there were police coming up the mountain, up the Lake Arrowhead, and they would let them know, like, they're coming, and they would all throw all their anything bad that threw down the shaft, and they're still there. It's still a pile of old bottles that are down in the Tudor basement. But that
Wow.
basement also, the Bugsy Siegel, I definitely feel like there's a connection because there's something dark down there. A lot of people automatically say is demonic. My experience in the Tudor basement wasn't demonic. It felt like there was just a negative man that just may have been killed, may have been buried down there. My friend, he was doing an investigation and something pushed him and it screwed him up the rest of the day. Like he didn't want to talk to anyone. He was just like, I don't know he couldn't explain it. And I think that's why it bothered
Yeah.
him. And then I brought a group of people down there again as a part of a tour and they wanted to see something. And I spoke out loud. I said, look, whoever's down here, we will be here for 2 minutes. We will get out of your hair. Can you just show us that you are here? And my brim pot started going off and then it stopped. Almost like, look, I'm here. Can you get out now? That's kind of how I felt. I
Mm.
said, okay, thank you. Have a good day. And we like ran out. So that's why when people are like, oh, it was demonic. And I'm like, no, I think there's just an angry man in the basement of the Tudor house, but definitely worth investigating. Another guest, he got pushed and scratched on his stomach. Yeah. So whoever's down there is a very like, it's very physical.
Yeah. And then the last of it, let's see. So the Tudor house with its Olympic-sized pool was a summer escape and a hotbed for illicit activities. These places
Hmm.
also hold dark histories with stories of deaths, like the caretaker Ralph, allegedly thrown from a third-story window, which you were mentioning, and
Yep.
Violet, a working girl whose death remains a mystery, adding to their infamous legacy.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like a kind of a cool place to get a group together and go.
Yep, that's exactly what we did at the time. It was an entire group, we each had our room, but I would say if you go, just and I believe the website will tell you least active, most active. Like if you want to sleep, get the least active because definitely my room, there was the madam that was connected to it. And I felt like I remember dreaming about her, just kind of like, let's keep it clean, like that. Like keep it clean, do not mess up anything. But for the most part, I had a roommate. We had like a good night's sleep, but I was like, do not leave trash in here because this lady's gonna like this lady's not gonna be happy if we do that because I could feel her just peeking and checking in on us.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay, another place you guys went, and I don't think this needs much of an introduction, but the Whaley House.
Love the Whaley House. That is one of my favorite places. I've been there countless times. Oh man, that's another place where I'm like, where do I start? It's just so active and the spirits there. They know it's like they know they're there and they know that we're there. And so they're just like, what do you need? You want to talk to me? You want a picture of me? What do you want? That's kind of how it feels. And so being an investigator, you go to the Whaley House, you will get activity. Is just a given. The daughter, I believe her name was Violet. She
Another
died
Violet?
tragically. Mhm, another Violet, there's a few things with Violet. I believe she jumped out the window. She found out I don't wanna get her story messed up, but I just wanna say I know she jumped out the window and she didn't die, and she got a shotgun from inside the house, and she shot herself. And there's a sofa that she went in where she passed, and so Violet's probably one of the most active spirits in the house. And so usually when I've gone and if there's something, a REM pod or a spirit box, she's the one that comes through the most, as well as Mr. Whaley in his top hat is smoking cigarettes. The mother,
Cigars.
Anna.
Doesn't he smoke cigars?
Thank you, I apologize. Cigars, there we go. Cigars, and the mother, Anna, very present, lots of photos. I took a picture about 10 years ago of someone sitting on a chair, but I couldn't make out who it was, and I thought that it was, the mother. I thought it was Anna Whaley, and I went back about a year and a half ago, and we were investigating, and I said, "I took a picture about 10 years ago. Was that you, Anna?" Silence, and I was like, "Mr. Whaley, was that you?" I was like, "Oh, you solved the mystery," because I didn't know who that was in that picture. Yeah, it was so cool because 'cause I've had it for so long, and in the sea, I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, now I know who that is." But, yeah, the Whaley House is just fantastic. The history of not just the house, but Old Town San Diego, the nearby cemetery, like, it's just if someone comes to Southern California, I'm like, absolutely take the time to go to the Whaley House.
Well, and they also, did public hangings there, right?
We did public hangings. Yeah, there's a
It
spirit
was
there.
the courthouse as well, I think?
Mm, yep, the courthouse, the hangings, the gallows, there's a spirit there, Yankee Jim, who at the time was tall for the era, because men back then were, I don't know, probably 5'6", and this man was probably 6 feet, maybe taller, and he was hung, but he didn't die right away because of his height, and a lot of men, when they say they kinda go through that area, they feel like they're being choked and they're uncomfortable,
Oh.
or they hear Yankee Jim because they say he wore heavy boots. They hear him down the halls, just like they're like, "Oh, that's him. That's him." It's been a long time, but I've encountered him like during a spirit box where we're like, "Is that you?" You can hear a man like, "Yes, it's me. Why are you here?" It's like, "Oh, okay." So yeah, lots of spirits there.
Yeah. Do they allow investigations there?
Absolutely. They do allow it, and now it could have changed, but I remember a few months ago there's a paranormal team and an investigator who I think it's like every other night he does like a what I like is it's small groups. I think it's like 6 people, up to 6 people where you have free reign in the house. He talks to you about the house and the property. He has tools laid out and then he's like, "Okay, cool. You have 2 hours. Bye." And you're like, "Sweet." Yeah, and so that I think that's great and that investigator was really great and helpful and if anyone didn't know how to use tools, he was pretty hands-on. When I've gone, I've never highlighted that I was an investigator. I just love being there, and I'm just like, "Can I go around the house and just kinda get my own, impression?" There's a theater upstairs, and that one has a man there in that room. That theater in that room is very, very haunted as well.
Interesting. I need to go back. We went there, on Girls Next Door, but it was just like a quick tour. We were with Hef and
Oh,
everybody, and like they did a little jump scare for us, which was kind of fun. But I've never gotten to investigate, and I want to.
oh,
I definitely want
lovely.
to.
Yes, it's definitely the place, and it's easy to set it up because they know it's haunted, so they're like, "Please come. You're welcome. What day?" So, definitely.
Oh, that's good. Tell me about the old Montana State Prison.
Oh man, that's one of my best, and it's so big. So anyone that is interested in going to Montana State Prison, definitely make that a 2 to 3 day investigation. We only had 1 day, which I regret to this day. But I went with a team in 2020, and I remember we were doing a walkthrough just to kind of get a feel for the place. And there was a man, he had on like a prison outfit. He had lighter colored hair, and he's like, "It's not fair." Spirit, I apologize, spirit. And he's like, "This is not fair." He was like, "I was persecuted and they blamed me and like I was guilty, but they let them get off and that's not fair." And this is all like intuitive. And I was like, I don't know who this is. Why is he talking to me? I'm just trying to be an investigator right now. And he was complaining about how he was the one that was blamed. And later, his team historian, I said, "Could you do me a favor? Look into this prison, like what happened?" And I believe that there was a riot that broke out many, many years ago. And there were 3 prisoners that were responsible for it, but only one of them was blamed for the riot. And I believe he was hung. The other ones, I don't know I don't know why. And I was just like, huh. And this was around the time where I was still kind of like denying that I was intuitive. I was like, I didn't mean
Yeah.
anything. But they were like, "No, what did he say?" And I was like, and I remember writing it down in my phone, everything that he was saying. And so that was another instance where I was like, okay, there's more to this intuitive stuff because I'm getting this information. But no, very, very active prison. The area where the bazooka was shot to in the riots that happened a long time ago. That's the only time in my life as an investigator that I almost gave up investigating at that point. So, for example, as an investigator, I'll go and do anything. It doesn't scare me. But as we're going up there, I was like, I want to leave. I don't want to be in here. I'm uncomfortable. I'm overwhelmed. But thank God the other investigator, she was like, nope, you're coming. We're doing this. I was like, I can't. But she forced me up there. It just felt like there were so many men just in that space, just staring at us because there was a riot in that space. And
Yeah.
to end it, they had to shoot that bazooka up there, and many, many of them died. And so I was picking up on the energy of the space. But yeah, I don't even know where to continue with that because that location is incredible. I do have a photo that I took my last day at Montana State Prison. Something just said, take a picture down that corridor where the actual cells were. And I just took a picture with my iPhone and kept walking. And my flight home, something's like, check your phone. And I was like, oh, what is that? And I was, if I remember, I'll send this to you. You see eyes just all the way down at the corridor, just glowing eyes just staring back at me. And I
Eee.
use that photo during my classes whenever I do paranormal classes, and people are like, "What is" I was like, "I don't know." But my intuition told me to take that picture, but it also lets you know that in addition to, the spirit of prisoners, there's also darker entities that are residing at Montana State Prison.
Okay. Well, just for the listener, I wrote down off their website a little bit of what they are. It says, discover yesteryear when you step into the first territorial prison in the Western United States. The prison was built by convict labor in the late 1800s. The gray sandstone walls of this immense structure are 24 feet high and buried 4 feet deep to prevent escape by tunneling. You can visit the enclosed courtyard where the convicts exercised and walk through the cell blocks and feel the chills of maximum security cells. The last prisoners were moved in 1979, after which the facility was then opened to the public.
Yeah.
But they didn't all move.
They did not all move. That place is insanely haunted, and, one of the other places where I started to feel a little sick, and I rarely ever feel sick as an investigator, just usually if I feel sick, it means there's a vortex somewhere.
Oh,
Usually. Yeah, I've noticed that just over the last 15 years, I'll be like, ugh. The most recent, you just had her as a guest, my friend Elsie Laud.
yeah.
I went to her home in Jackson,
Yes.
last year, and I was like, "Yeah, no." After a few hours, she wanted me to continue the tour. I said, "I'm sorry, Elsie, I gotta get out of here, and this is rare." That basement area, I don't know, it's a man down there, but I just remember feeling really, really sick, and so I felt that way in Montana State Prison as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I just spent the night there at Elsie's haunted Airbnb in Jackson, and there was definitely things happening, like the lights were going on and off on their own. We were definitely getting stuff on the REM pod and other devices, but we didn't have anything major happen.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just intense, and I told her, I was like, "Your place is really cool, but it's very intense," and she's like, "Thank you." But, no, it was cool, it's beautiful, beautiful home, but, just that basement area, I felt like there was a
Yeah.
vortex, and there's a man down there that loves to make himself very, very known.
What's interesting about her house too, so it's in the gold country, and then it's right on a creek too, right behind it. And I feel like, anytime something's near water like that, I just feel like that brings so much energy.
Yes, yeah, water is absolutely a conduit for spiritual energy, it just ghosts are like, "Woo," like water, it's almost like it, like, amps them up, and so, yeah, when she
Yeah.
said she's like, "There's a creek back here," I was like, "Oh, that explains a lot."
And when we were there, it was very stormy and raining really hard, and that
Wow.
creek was like, I mean, it was so wide and it
Whoa.
was running, and I mean, I have video of
Whoa.
it, but it was like real is and it's right there. It goes
Wow.
all the way up to the building, which I don't even know how it doesn't. I mean, it does leak
Exactly.
in actually. I mean, I was gonna say I don't know how it doesn't, but it
Uh-huh.
does. She has pumps down in that basement to like suck out the water and stuff.
Mhm.
'Cause, yeah. I know we talked about TV at the beginning, but I wanna get back into some of the TV stuff that you've done, but before we talk about that, I kinda wanted to talk about representation because one of the things that, I try to do on my podcast is bring in especially female representation because
Mhm.
I feel like there's so many females out there doing so much, and in fact, we were kind of the OGs if you go way back to, like, the Fox sisters and things like that, women were always the ones involved in this, but somehow it's become a very male driven thing
Yeah.
on TV and in the public eye and stuff. I don't think in real life that is where it's at. But I wanted to talk to you about that being a female and being a female of color. Like,
Yeah.
how few there are and how much I'm so thankful for you, because we need that so bad. Not only females, but people of color, people of
Yeah.
all different backgrounds, because I feel like people on the other side, especially who maybe died a long time ago, aren't going to feel comfortable talking to everybody. So we need to have a little bit of everybody out there that will make everybody feel comfortable, even people on the other side.
No, you're absolutely right. And I genuinely love this work. It gives me life. It's a passion. I love teaching others about it. And so to be like that female or that African American female that's doing this work, I hope that it has others that want to come forward. 'Cause there's a lot that I've met that are like, "Oh, no, my family wouldn't like that," or they don't believe, or my culture, they don't believe in that. And I was like, "Well, does it make you happy?" You're like, "Well, yeah." Just like, then go ahead. Cause I will say it took a minute for me to really put myself out there. I've been doing this work, but I haven't really put myself out there up until maybe 2 to 3 years ago. I was
Yeah.
hiding. And I was like, what am I doing? There needs to be more women seen. There needs to be more Black women seen. And, lately, I'd say within the last year or so, I've been getting a lot more media attention. And I think it's because people haven't seen anyone like me. I guess I'm different. And, I'm humble. I'm very, very humbled by that because I'm not like looking for the fame, but it's like, oh, I get to talk about what I love. Sure, let's talk about it. Let's do this. You want me to investigate? You want to film it? Absolutely. And so that's kind of how I look at it. But yeah, I hope people start to see more, no, not see, want more representation and to be seen. Cause I look at like the paranormal conventions,
Mhm.
it's barely women and there's absolutely no people of color that I see. I'm sorry, I don't see
Yeah.
it.
I
And
don't either.
it's ac it's kind of insulting, because it's like, "Okay, this is great. I'm glad you're having these conventions, but there's a lot more diverse voices out there." And not just to have a diverse voice to have it, these are people that actually know what they're doing and know what they're talking about. And I don't know if people like me are being given that opportunity or that chance. And it's actually how I met Elsie because she had a paranormal convention and she saw me and was like, "Wow, this is different." And, "Oh,
Yes.
okay, she knows what she's talking about." She gave me the opportunity and it means a lot. And I wish people would have more of that mindset when it comes to diversity and representation in the paranormal.
Do you think that there are a lot of people, people of color or African Americans specifically, who are out there doing it but just aren't getting the representation? Or do you think they don't see themselves out there, people like them doing that, so they're like, I don't know if this is right for me. I don't know if this is something I should do."
I think it's a mixture of both. I will say, like in Black culture, it's not typical. It's not typical to do ghost hunting or paranormal investigating. However, I've encountered so many people that'll message me and they're like, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you. I love doing this, but I don't really put myself out there. I don't really know how to do it." Or "Oh, you're kind of inspiring to me. I feel like I can kind of." This is very interesting, and so I hope by being seen in this way that again, like people, it opens people's eyes, or they're like, "Oh wow, I got to remember that it's not just men, it's not just Caucasian males. There's
Mm.
so many, like there's like it's a women and minorities that are interested in this field, and I just want a light to be shone on us more because again, it's more we know what we're doing, we know what we're talking about, but we won't be able to show the world that if we keep getting pushed aside."
Yeah. Where do you think the hesitation is? Do you think it's religion, or do you think it's just the family dynamic, or like what do you think it is that might hold people back?
I think it's both. I think it could be religion. I definitely think it's the family dynamic. It's what they're used to. I have a good friend who she is, oh gosh, there's been a while since she told me that. She's Asian American, and she said, I believe I'm a medium, but I could never. I was like, really? She's like, no, no, I can never do that. She's like, because my family would never approve of that. And she just sits on it. And she's so gifted. And
Uh,
she loves the paranormal, she loves spirituality, but she won't act on it. So definitely. That's why I was like, I think it's a mixture of both. And that's why I'm just hoping, especially like the different projects I've been a part of, that maybe, there's people that see me and are like, okay, you know what? That's okay. She's different. This will kind of give me that motivation to put myself out there more.
yeah, I think anytime that there's representation, it gives other people the right, or the feel like they have the
Mhm.
right to like be like, I
Yep.
could do that too. Oh wait, she's
Yep.
doing it and she's okay. She's
See,
surviving this. I can do it too. And
like,
yeah, I just think it's really so important. Okay, speaking of being on TV and all that kind of stuff, you were on Ghost Adventures.
I was.
First of all, tell me how that even came about.
Oh my god, Ghost Adventures. First off, I've been watching that show since oh my god, forever. So it was so surreal. But no, they my friend Tammy, I believe they connected with her on something else. And then they asked her, "Oh, do you know of any mediums?" And she's like, "My friend Tonnie. She's fantastic." Which I appreciate that because those in my circle, I don't really advertise myself as a medium. You go to my social media, it's not really anywhere on there. Just because I'm so like focused on the paranormal.
Mhm.
And, she told them about me, and I talked to Jeff, Bellinger, who is
Yes.
amazing, and yeah, that's kinda basically how it got connected, and, it was about the Poltergeist house, and I'm very, very familiar with the house, of course, the movie, but, I was always in Simi Valley for years 'cause I have a really good friend that lived up there and still lives there. And so I would always see the house, and what was really scary is that for years, I felt like there was a man just staring at me outside the main window, and I never really said this to anybody except a friend. I'm like, "I just every time I walk by, there's a man staring at me." And on the show, I told Zach that, and he says, "We've confirmed that a male died in that room." And I was like, "Huh." Because again, had no proof. I was just like, this is what I feel, this is what I see. And so he
Yeah.
confirmed that. And what was really cool is that I didn't think that I was going to actually be doing an investigation. I thought I was just interviewing about the house. And Zach's like, "Come on, let's go in the house." I was like, "Oh my God." And so we went in and we went into that room and I started to I felt that male. And then I just kept hearing him over and over say, "I died in here. I died in here." And then Zach said, "Oh, we got that on like an EVP earlier in the day. You hear the man say, 'I died.'" And I was like, "Oh my God." But yeah, I also felt like that's another location where I felt like there was a lot of different types of spirits. And I told him on the tape, I said, "I feel like he's not the only one." I was like, "There's a man downstairs and there's a woman like right there." And he says, "We confirmed that two men died in the house and a woman." And so it was just hit after hit after hit, and so,
Yeah.
yeah, it was probably one of the coolest days of my life, being in that Poltergeist house. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, just for well, this is for me too, but also for the listeners. I was confused when I first saw that they were even going to the Poltergeist house because I was like, wait, this is a story that they made up for a movie. Now they're telling me that it's actually a haunted house. So tell me, I mean, you said two people, two males and a female died in there, but what happened? Like why how did this location become haunted, and was it always haunted? Or like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm having trouble with the tie-in because I always thought this was fake, and
Oh,
now
no,
I'm like, "Wait."
no, it's okay. It's a few things. So one, there's that poltergeist curse where it seemed like just connected to the film, and the people that were surrounding it, that there was a curse where, like Heather
Yeah.
O'Rourke passed away really young. A lot of the actors from the movie passed around the time of filming, but also in that Pacific area in Simi Valley, Native American burial ground. And it is believed that that area, the house is built over burial ground as well. And so that's where it's like you have the curse of the film, then you have the burial ground, and then you also have the people that had passed in the house. Those that passed in the house, it was more. He made it very clear that it was more like personal. The family didn't really. They're very private. They're very private. So I don't know specifics. All they said was yes, there were three deaths in the house, but that's why it seems to be so active, just given the history of the movie and that curse and the burial, and then the deaths that happened in the house.
So interesting. I was so
Mhm.
confused when I first saw that episode come out because I was like, "Wait, what? That was
Yeah.
a movie."
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot, a beautiful area, but even stepping in front of the house again, I was like, "I remember this feeling," and it's just Simi Valley, it's very interesting because I can feel that spiritual energy. I could feel there's a big pool in the backyard, and I remember Zach walking around and, he was using the spirit box around the pool to just kinda see if he was able to get or hear anything. It's just very active, very, very active. Like I said, one of the best nights, one of the best paranormal investigating, nights of my career, actually.
Yeah, so exciting. I remember it was for sale not that long ago, and even on the listing, it says, I wrote it down, "No ghostly activity, we promise."
Yeah, I mean, my experience was the opposite of that. I think it's definitely ghostly activity. One of the rooms they had me go into, I told them I felt like kitty energy. I was like, I don't know why. I almost feel like I have to go out. And then that was confirmed as well that they felt there was a child spirit in that room as well. So Very active. I talked to the owner briefly, very, very nice woman, and she said she was having minor issues sleeping. She would be woken up. Luckily, nothing crazy had happened so far, but she's like, she felt sick at one point. She felt like she was kind of being like pulled down, like energetically. So as of now, I'm sure she's okay, but I definitely believe it's active.
I think I read that she is turning it into like a poltergeist themed. Am I wrong
Mhm.
on this? Am I?
Oh, I'm not
I'll,
sure. I hope so. I hope
I'll
she
have to
does that.
I'll have to double check this. I think she was gonna turn it into like a poltergeist themed like Airbnb.
That's awesome. She
Like
should. She just
I
being in there, I think she should. That'd be great.
I need to double
Yeah.
check on that.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me, you did a couple of shows in Canada. Tell me about Paranormal Revenge.
Oh, yeah, Paranormal Revenge, that came out in, 2023, and it airs on CTV Sci-Fi and the Crave Network. It's myself, a friend, Aaron Goodpipe, and, we basically talk about I was trying to think, it's been a minute, dark cases, very dark, paranormal cases and spirits that want revenge. Those that are like,
Oh.
it's not good spirits in any sort of capacity. These are ones that
Yeah.
are they not causing physical harm, but emotional, and so those were the stories. They were darker than I was used to. I remember being on set, and I was reading the scripts. I was like, "Oh, these are like, like almost demonic." But no, very interesting show. It was nominated for a Canadian award. Yeah. And so my co-stars, Aaron Goodpipe and Richard Estep, they were my co-stars. And so no, that show was awesome. And then they saw me on Paranormal Revenge, a producer, and they called me for My Haunted Hometown. And so My Haunted Hometown, it first aired last October, and then season 2 is coming this year. Similar theme, but a little different in terms of hometowns that are known to be very, very haunted, but specifically a certain area, street, block, neighborhood, where it's known that it's like spirits that are not wanting to leave. They want to stay in that property, but we're trying to figure out why. What are they? What is their end game? What do they want? What is their unfinished business? And so
Yeah.
on both shows, I'm an expert that just talks about the cases and why I think that it's happening.
And you brought up some of these, especially on the revenge one, are almost demonic. What are your thoughts on like demonic activity?
I believe in it, and luckily as an investigator, it's something that I always set the intention to avoid. Just being transparent, where I was like, I don't want to do anything in that sense. However, I am aware that eventually in my career it's going to come up. But yeah, I do believe in that there are places that have demonic activity, and I believe in there are demonologists out there that are able to just kind of help figure out the solution to that. As an investigator, I tend to not touch that.
Yeah. There was a show, Scariest Places in the World. Tell me, what was the scariest place in the world?
Oh, that show was so much fun.
Did
What was
did you
fun
get to
about
go to
that?
these places?
No.
Ah.
So, with Scariest Places, well, there's another one, but the other one, there was a few places I had been to, but for Scariest Places in the World, no. But no, one of the places I talked about that I am dying to go to is the catacombs in Italy. I might be saying it wrong, Capuchin catacombs.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man, it's basically just a building with bodies just laying out hanging on the walls. I would give anything to see what the energy feels like in that place. And one
Yeah.
of the things I talked about when it came to the catacombs was the baby. There's a baby, a little girl in there with blonde hair, and they say she still looks like she's sleeping. She just,
Yes,
for
I've
some
seen
reason.
her. Well, I haven't seen
Mhm,
her in person, but I've seen photos.
mhm,
She's in a glass casket, and
mhm.
whatever embalming methods they used, she still looks, like, pristine.
See? Yeah, and it's just fascinating to me, and so, yeah, that was one of the places we discussed, and that's one of the places I've been dying to go to. The Tower of London was discussed,
Ooh, yeah.
where I don't even know where to begin with that one because it's so old. I believe it's built in the 1300s, where it's, like, all this different types of spirits that are there. They say that they see, spirits with walking around with no heads. Yeah. Just yeah.
Well, and the torture, and they have a whole area that's, like, it's a museum dedicated to all the different torture devices they used to use.
See? Yeah, that's why I was just like, "Oh my god, that's one of the places where I put that on my list where it was like, okay, the catacombs, the Tower of London." But yeah, that one in the other location that's sorry, the other series that's connected to it is Scariest Places in America. That's what I was trying to get to. So
And
that
what are
one
those? Yeah.
that one is it was basically like so we filmed Scariest Places in America first, and then because
Okay.
that was successful, they did Scariest Places in the World. But for America, the one thing I talked about was the Lizzie Borden house. And
Mm.
yes, I've been there.
Yes.
The only thing about the Lizzie Borden house is I have not been able to investigate it. When I went, I was in the area for work, and so I got to do the tour and see the house,
Yeah.
but I had to leave. I was like, "No." They do a ghost hunt every night at the Lizzie Borden house, and so
Yeah.
I'll see if I can try to make it up there this year. But yeah, the Lizzie Borden house, definitely active. Just walking through, I can feel the energy. It is a bed and breakfast. People stay and sleep in there. Not sure how. In the rooms, they have mannequins in the place of the murders. So, like the mannequin of her father was in the living room on the sofa, and then there was a mannequin of, I believe, her stepmother that was on the floor in the bedroom, and it looks so real. So as you're doing the tour, you're just like, oh, but I guess they want you to be they want it to be jarring.
Yeah.
But no, very, very beautiful location, but that was the first place we talked about.
Yes, I've been there, same as you. I've only done the tours a couple of times. I haven't done an investigation or
Mhm.
spent the night. I wanted to go this coming weekend because the Vogel Victorian, I don't know if you're familiar with them. They do haunted tea parties in Orange County, but she's doing a haunted tea party at the Lizzie Borden house, and she
Oh
has it for
my
the whole
god.
weekend, and she's like, "Come join us." And I'm like,
Oh
"Oh my
my
god, I want to so bad."
amazing. And if you do go, definitely stop by the cemetery. The cemetery is probably like 6 minutes away.
I
I went by
did that
myself.
last time. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I went to her grave, filmed her grave, her, stepfather's, her father's, her stepmother's, her sister, and made a little TikTok about it. But yeah, I was in there in and out, and I was by myself in the cemetery. But no, just a beautiful town. And yeah, that was probably one of the more exciting places that I've actually been to that I talked about during that special.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much fun. There's so many places. Okay, I know we're over time, so I'm just going to ask you some quick roundup questions, then I'll let you go.
Please.
What would you say is the scariest paranormal place you've ever been?
I would say the scariest would be Montana State Prison. It's so large and there's so many spirits that I would say you need more time and more equipment, and it's a lot there. It's a lot there, both demonic but also spirits that are intelligent as well.
Okay. Favorite paranormal tool beside yourself?
Ooh, yay. The spirit box.
Okay.
Love the spirit box.
Have you ever do you ever use the apps on the phone that act as spirit boxes?
Every so often. So it's some apps I don't feel are the greatest, but then there
Yeah.
are some where I'm like, you know what, this seems pretty legit just based off of what I'm intuitively picking up. So yes, sometimes I will use that. Sometimes.
Yeah. I'm so on the fence about them too, like, it's kind of fun and it's so easy to pull them out, but at the same time, like, I understand how they can be picking up on things that we're talking about or how they are maybe programmed a certain way or,
Sure.
like, all
Sure.
those things happening in there. Okay, best evidence you've ever captured.
That photo I took in Montana State Prison when I just felt intuitively to take a picture down the jail cell corridor and those eyes that were just staring back at me glowing. That's evidence.
Yeah. Oh, you'll have to send me that picture.
I absolutely will. Yep.
Do you carry anything for protection?
I do actually. It's like this one. I usually wear this one for investigations. I change my crystals every so often, but this one's a master quartz. But also before I go into an investigation, I say a prayer, and then before I actually leave the property, I say a prayer. And so, I would tell anyone because a lot of people say, "Oh, do you recommend a crystal?" I always tell people which one do you feel drawn to, and that's usually they're like, "Oh, I like the tiger eye. Wear that one like that." So for me, master quartz.
Yeah. We talked about this a little bit already, but paranormal place you haven't been yet but are dying to go to. I know you said the catacombs, but say something that that wasn't. I know everybody has this huge long list. My list is so long. What's another
Um,
spot on your list?
the Valeska Axe Murder House.
Oh, I want to go there too.
I wanna go
Some
there
people
so
are
bad.
anti. Like I think Elsie has said she doesn't have any desire to go to there
Oh, yeah,
because
I'm
kids were
dying to go
involved.
there. Or any castle. Any that's, like, my backup where it's like, "Just take me to a castle I wanna." I feel drawn to it. I don't know if it's, like, a past life thing, but I wanna go to, like, a castle in Ireland. I don't care which one. And
Yeah.
just kinda see and learn about who's there. Because I do the work of paranormal because I love history, and I love to tell their stories. And so it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I get to talk to I don't know, this person in armor? Like, tell me about your life. Tell me who you are," you know? But yeah, a Valeska Ask Murder or a castle.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your stories with us. Tell everybody listening how they can follow you on social media and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Intuitive Tawny, also on Facebook at Tawney Lewis.
And your shows are coming out, or is anything on currently?
Oh, yes. So for on Tubi, you have the scariest places in America. You also have scariest places in the world and famously haunted Hollywood. For those in Canada, you can find My Haunted Hometown, which airs on TNE, and then Paranormal Revenge airs on the Crave Network and the CTV Sci-Fi. And then Ghost Adventures, the Poltergeist House Curse, is streaming on Discovery Plus and Max as we speak. So yeah.
Perfect. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Ghost Bunny podcast. Thank you so much for joining me on my spooky adventures, and I look forward to sharing a new ghost story with you each week. Please subscribe to my podcast so you're always the first to know when a new episode is out, and follow me on social media at Ghost Bunny Podcast on Instagram and at Ghost Bunny Podcast on YouTube. And I'm working on that Patreon. You guys are so patient with me. Thank you. Bye, guys.